A boy wakes up lost in a strange, empty place and doesn't know where he is. He looks around and spots some boxes, wondering if he's down in a tunnel or stuck inside the trunk of a taxi. As he shifts slightly, his finger accidentally brushes a spiderweb, sending a jolt of fear through him, and he quickly realizes he's trapped in a cramped, dark box, his head pounding and skin cold as he takes a deep breath to try and remember what happened last night to land him in this tight spot. The very first thing he remembers is standing all alone in an empty parking lot. After pushing himself a bit, he remembers that his name is Kim, he is 30 years old, and he works as an employee. Thinking it over, he realized he must have gotten drunk late that night and ended up in some strange spot, even though he never really liked to drink and usually headed straight back to his dorm to focus on more important things. When he got home at night, he had to focus on some very important things. As soon as he got home, he popped open an energy drink to keep himself wide awake all night. Then we discovered his true desire was to stay up all night, non-stop, playing an online role-playing game. All night, he stayed glued to that game, chugging energy drinks without moving from his spot, totally hooked on the RPG. But something feels wrong because it makes no sense to wake up in the middle of nowhere after a night of comfort at home, so fear takes hold and he starts to wonder where he is, realizing the only explanation might be that he's dreaming, just like before. Suddenly, the box the boy is trapped in starts to fall, giving him a slight bump and scaring him even more. Footsteps ripple in the puddles while an invisible voice warns her to halt. As the voice speaks, the boy pieces together the mystery, finally realizing he is sitting inside a wooden carriage. But it's really odd because carriages aren't used in the 21st century, especially in high-tech Korea. A masked man peered at the carriage and asked how the piglet or the packages being transported were doing. With a wicked grin, he boasted that he had caught him because the poor guy was too obedient and believed everything he was told. As more masked figures gather and whisper that the piglet resembles a father from the side, the protagonist inside hears it all and realizes they are speaking about him. The two men keep chatting, with one praising his friend's work as excellent, and when they declare, "This will be the glorious revenge of Sing Aolan," the protagonist freezes in shock, instantly recognizing those famous words. He was shocked to hear a line from the game World Forgotten by God, which he had played the night before, speaking to him in real life. The story centers on the dramatic downfall of the third prince, which is one of the most important events in the whole game. The boy starts to think it might be a prank since he just heard the exact same lines he said yesterday. Deep in the forest, a figure creeps closer, their steps fast but soundless. From inside the box, the protagonist listens to every sound, desperate to figure out what is happening. The man who steps forward is one of the kidnappers who took the boy, and when he opens the carriage coffin, we see the main character inside looks like a chubby kid. As soon as the boy breaks free, he freezes in shock because the character from his favorite game is standing right there, alive. The skin you're holding belongs to Pig Prince, who happens to be the third prince of the mighty Magic Empire, one of the biggest factions alive. In the game, the pig was so babyish that it even fainted. The protagonist adored the character because of his personality, but the guy was so lazy that just being around him caused trouble. This tricky personality earned the nickname, Paid Prince, and even led to gold coins being made with that name. His whole life was a binge of eating and drinking that earned him many enemies and serious trouble. With so many enemies closing in, he was caught by the revolutionaries and was about to leave this world forever. Finally, all the pieces clicked into place, and the hero truly understood that he had become a living part of the game. Having rehearsed this scene so many times, the boy knows exactly what words are coming next and starts guessing them perfectly, and then after everyone talks, several hands grab the prince to pull him out of the box. As he hits the ground hard, he pleads to be let go, terrified that he will die. The man with white hair points at you and declares that, in the name of the Republic, you are going to heaven today. This is terrifying because things are playing out just like in the game. The only job this character has in the whole tale is to get his head chopped off and sent to his dad, the Emperor. The hero has turned into a trashy pawn, nothing more than a spare part waiting to be tossed away. Usually, when anime characters swap bodies, it's a total twist compared to this. In the books the MC used to read, people always ended up becoming either super handsome or incredibly powerful heroes. Lost in despair, the blonde boy begins to wonder who the true hero is, the one who reached the game's ultimate level. It's probably the hooded figure, the one who looks the strongest right now. That person seems mighty and keeps acting like a shadow, never showing his face. Watching the man get closer, the chubby boy panics because he has no power and doesn't know what to do. An old man stepped forward with his sword drawn, ready to finish his job and send a message to the Emperor. A sharp blade is held right in front of the pig's face as he is asked for his last words. With barely any time to think, he can only scream to stop it and beg to know how this all went wrong. Until yesterday, he was just nobody in a big world where no one cared about him. And now he's about to lose because he suddenly swapped bodies with a character who only exists to drink. Then an idea flashes into the boy's head, and he shouts out about a dog. The big man roars with laughter, asking if the pig enjoys dogs and joking that those are perfect final words. Desperate, the boy screams one more time to wait a minute, saying he needs to say something important. But already fed up with the time being wasted, the old man shouts that there are no more seconds left for regret. With nothing left to do but watch the sword slice through the air toward the boy, it's heartbreaking because he was always just a secondary, disposable person from the moment he was born. He was an orphan raised all alone in a lonely, sad world. Raising in an orphanage, he was sent to a factory the moment he turned 18, treated just like a replaceable tool gathering parts. He was still just a worker at a conference supply store, even though he had long passed the age of 30. His home was just a tiny dorm room, too small to even sleep in comfortably. He wanted to study for the hard civil service exam, but with so little time left and no sure way to pass, he felt unsure if he could make it. The only bright spot in his life was his laptop, which let him live inside a game where his Maxwell character had endless fun without ever stopping. Right before he swapped bodies, a message popped up in his game asking if he was ready to begin a second life. That proposal lit a fire in the boy's mind, making him desperate to figure out what it was all about. With his grumpy, hard-to-read fingers, he began to type because he just had to know the answer. He sent a message saying he was ready to begin his second life. Before long, that person replied with interest. The man asked the boy if he was really ready, because starting a second life wouldn't be easy. The MC was puzzled by the serious reply to his joke, while the other person showed no sign of playing along. But a thought struck him that the other person's life was just as tough, so he replied that they should do their very best together. The dog god says this shows a wonderful, excited attitude. After a while, another note arrives wishing the boy will live long enough to do everything he dreams of in the world. This made the boy wonder why everyone had to be so careful just to survive in the real world. The moment the hero hit the computer key, a weird energy began to glow. That same energy grabs him and pulls his whole body into the computer, dragging him to a strange new place. Caught inside the computer, he thinks about all the things he still hasn't done while he was alive. Then we jump back to right now, just a heartbeat before he dies. The idea that there's more to achieve gives him a surge of strength, letting him react with fresh energy right now. His anger at the system is so intense that he turns all the men around him into red laser targets. No one knows how much power he holds, not even the boy who is scared and confused by the changes happening to his own body. His awakened power made the whole world freeze in place, giving him a split second to move. Time froze right before the blade could strike, saving him from a fatal blow. The boy is still lost, wondering if time has truly stopped or if he's just still confused about what's going on. He felt time stand still because he was so focused on the important thought in his mind. Suddenly, a message flashes in the sky, telling us the game has just begun. The boy is left even more puzzled by the status message floating in the sky, which marks the start of his second life, only to be startled again when another mysterious message suddenly appears above him. The story reveals that the player, Kim, is now taking control of the character Gillison. The boy knows this window from above by heart and gets excited whenever he sees it. He recalls playing this game so often that he's seen that same message more than 100 times. Just then, a message flashed on the screen saying it had started, and the boy felt his heart race even faster. Finally, we reached the part of the story that made him love those old comic books so much. After spending half his life playing the game, he believes he can easily flip the entire story to become the strongest player, even though the gods have forgotten him and he has already finished countless main quests and side missions. Thinking he was a top-tier veteran who knew every single nook and cranny of the game, he believed he could conquer everything and play exactly how he wanted. There's just one question still stuck in the hero's head. Why did he step onto the field as a prince anyway? Well, as long as he still has breath in his lungs, he'll always find a way to escape and grow even stronger. Another message pops up saying the first destiny has begun, and he can't contain his excitement because this is the start of the new life he was promised, and as he stares at the words, he knows it has truly started. This is the very first big decision in the game, where you must pick a destiny card to set his fighting style. The game picks your starting traits for you at random. But this randomness also means that if he isn't very lucky, he might draw a card that won't help him escape this entire crisis. This is a very tense moment because he never imagined that one day his destiny would be chosen by random cards. He yells out that no matter where he ends up, he's going to play his best hand. Before pull line, he shuts his eyes and pours all his heart into begging the cards for a lucky draw. He takes a deep breath and realizes that at least one of the 3 cards must be a Class B. But if the cards he pulls are all trash, the game ends before it even begins, yet luckily, this friendly game gives new players a chance, and the boy is only asking for one try. He rushes to pick a class, repeating that he just needs anything useful, even an S rank. Truth is, if you're a master of the game, any S rank fighting style will do. Holding the 3 cards, he knows they will decide his fate. The very first card he draws is a Class D actor, a terrible choice for escaping such a dangerous situation. His hope rested on the next card, but it revealed a lowly F-rank slave gladiator instead. The cards he draws are terrible and won't save him, frustrating the boy as he desperately wonders where the easy start features went since the game is hard from the very beginning. Luckily, one final card remains, and the boy's whole future now hangs on a roll of the dice. The moment he touched the card, a dazzling light of colors filled the air, leaving the boy breathless with joy as he realized he had drawn a super powerful X-rank card. A bright message pops up to announce that the Archmage has shown up in the Destiny cards. The boy is thrilled to see the card, knowing it lets him escape his trouble and feeling incredibly lucky to get such a great one right away. The boy beams with joy as he holds the rare Archmage card, a legendary powerhouse that stays useful even until the very last move of the game. This super rare card has less than a 1 in 1,000 chance of showing up, and the boy couldn't believe he was finally holding one in his hand. Holding his cards, he thinks hard about what to do next and how he will finally beat his enemies. His power freezes time, leaving the pig prince stuck in his final pose, just about to lose. Deep in his mind, he realizes that the world no longer sees him as a player, but as nothing more than an NPC. Even though he woke up in a chubby body, he is still the prince of a magical empire. With magic flowing through his veins, the boy is happy that his incredible luck helped him choose the Destiny card. Glancing at the card, he immediately declares he'll use the class he just unlocked. But before he picks a class, he stops to think about something that caught his eye. He looks at the assassin's body and realizes that even with his high level, a single sword strike could still kill him. With ropes binding him, he has less than a second to move and save his own life. The trouble with picking the Archmage is that it needs him to use magic and first round up all his men. Gathering magic right now in this tense moment feels like trying to catch fireflies with your bare hands. Right after gathering the magic, he'll have to cast a long spell. As he thinks it through, he knows it will take too long, and he won't be able to dodge the sword. If he picks this class, he's doomed to a terrible end. The boy sadly realizes he can't choose his best card and must pick which of the 2 worst ones to play. He has to come up with a clever plan to get out of this mess fast. But sadly, his only hope to live is to throw away the Archmage card, losing all the power he once had. The boy feels scared for his life, his muscles tighten, and he wonders why that card had to appear right now. Frustrated but refusing to quit, he keeps planning his escape because this is the one chance he's waited his whole life for. With tears brimming in his eyes, he realizes the game has driven him crazy and his only option is to pick one of the terrible D or F cards, forcing him to desperately figure out which trash card might just be the better choice. The air is thick with tension as the boy knows that one wrong choice means either death or heaven, so he cannot possibly make a mistake. The air grows thick with tension as the main character finally pulls out the Destiny card he had chosen. No one expected the chosen card to be the F-rank one named Slave Gladiator. He knows this game inside out and insists that even holding a terrible card won't stop you from surviving. Suddenly, a message pops up saying the F-rank Destiny card has been handed to the chubby prince. But once he picked a card, the other 2 disappeared, and even though he held something amazing, it was gone forever. The legendary Archmage card, holding power beyond belief, begins to fade away as if in deep sorrow. With a heavy heart, the protagonist promises himself he'll find that Archmage card again someday. After losing his best card and feeling terrible, a message flashes in the sky announcing that the game will restart in 5 seconds with no breaks, so the boy steadies himself to face the challenge calmly and get out of this mess. In the last few seconds before the game starts again, he wonders how he ended up inside the pig prince's body. And even though he isn't the star, he's got one goal: to grab every chance he can get to live and make the most of his second shot at life. Even though the boy is just a side character, he'll give his all to make the most of the playable hero he's been given. He remembers the old tale where his character lost his head, but this time he's in charge, and since he and the boy are different people, he's determined to try his absolute best. The trouble was that he wasted those final seconds thinking about things instead of figuring out how to use his powers. With only 2 seconds left and a heart pounding in his chest, he desperately tries to figure out how to turn on his special powers to stay alive, but it's already too late to find the right buttons, so the cold truth hits him: he's not going to make it. The match kicks off, the card is picked, time starts ticking again, and the whole story begins to unfold. Once again, the player takes control of the prince and makes every decision for him from now on. Just as time ran out, he flashes back to the skill buttons and presses them instantly. Hopefully, that's enough to save him from this whole mess. The man who just swung his sword is frozen in shock because his enemy is still standing, which shouldn't be possible, so he can only stare at his blade and wonder what in the world is going on. Luckily, the special powers from the slave class made chains just in time to stop the sword and save the future king. With all the assassins left speechless at the target's unexpected survival, the desperate pig scrambles to free himself from his ropes and escape his enemies. The impatient assassin leader grabs the target and demands to know how he could still be alive after nearly getting sliced by a sword. A message pops up saying a new skill has activated, which just might free the chubby prince, and luckily the slave gladiator had one defensive ability that came in handy right then. When the body is held still, you can dodge one enemy attack every day. In this situation, with a sword tied to his head, the archmage's skills would have done him no good at all. Even though the situation is terrible, the gladiator can save them much better than the mages. After surviving, the boy's body still hurts badly and he can't believe he actually made it. With a clear goal in mind, the assassins push forward, determined to take down the target. But since he can only use that power once a day, his next attack will send the man's head flying. All that's left for the MC is to stop and think, knowing every dark secret of the game so he can turn them to his advantage. He even knows the name of the old battle priest who once served the god of vengeance, Aelm. The rest of his followers are crazy fanatics who worship that same insane god. Knowing everything, the chubby prince comes up with a plan to use their wild belief to his own advantage. He yells out the name Bema Damar and loudly curses him right in front of the crowd. When he hears his name, the battle priest freezes in shock, unable to believe the prince knows that much about him. Sticking to the plan, the hero keeps mocking them, leaving them wide-eyed and sweating with nerves. Using their blind devotion, he challenges the men to realize they haven't even recognized their own master hiding inside another body. This leaves them stunned, unsure if the figure before them is really the god they have always worshipped. The prince stands up, keeps the show going, and declares that he really is Aeolum. Walking among a crowd of hooded figures, he declares that he is their master and they are all his followers. As he keeps talking, he thinks to himself, please, because he didn't know he could come up with such a clever plan, and excitedly finishes by saying that the hooded ones must follow him and worship him wherever he goes. He lies that he deserves praise because he claims to be the god of vengeance. From now on, this character will become the god of vengeance that everyone in the game worships. And they can't doubt it, forced to believe the man standing there is Aelm himself. He shouts again, daring his followers to raise their swords against the very god they worship. That leaves them frozen in shock, because if that man is truly who they think he is, they would have made a terrible error. The 3 hired hands glance at one another, lost and fearing either rescue or death, but the lie is plain to see in the assassins' faces since they simply don't believe a word he says. As he noticed this, the boy began to panic, sweat chilling on his skin, and knew he had to find a way to save himself fast. The old man scoffs at the idea of a god taking such a weak form, so the chubby prince keeps his followers guessing about what shape he might take when he lands on Earth. He keeps threatening the men with ever more gruesome violence to prove he is the god of revenge, acting like a crazy man not because he is one, but because he must stay alive. It doesn't matter if the boy is acting wild in the game, because this god is meant to be exactly that kind of person. In this world ruled by 12 gods who look different and act like mean bullies, it's funny to see them bossing mortals around when the whole game is supposed to be about being forgotten by the gods. But the boy can't stop to explain, because his head might be chopped off in just a few minutes. As the show went on, he said they should feel lucky that he came down from the heavens just to visit them, because if any other god showed up, it would have been a disaster. Of all the gods, Aelum is the one who jumps in most because he loves revenge and watches every war, often stepping in just to fuel personal fights or big battles between nations. Luckily, the developer gave the hero a perfect situation to step into. The leader finally admits he was wrong and apologizes for insulting the chubby prince. The prince feels a rush of victory as he tricks everyone into believing he is someone else, ensuring he stays alive. Still not fully convinced, the assassin challenges the man to prove he is truly a god by blessing his followers. So, they want proof that he is who he says he is, and the boy must find a way to get out of this tight spot. He thinks about how the true God would never give blessings on a plan, so he decides to bless them from his own merciful heart and then turns to speak directly with the assassin leader. He pointed to the shiny gold statue built for him last week and sneered that it was just gold when it could have been so much better. The old man stood frozen and ashamed as his gift was mocked. Diving deeper into his role, he shouts at his followers again, daring them to think they can fool him with such weak offerings. To the players, the NPCs must act as if their god has truly landed on Earth and is talking to them right now. He thinks that if his own priest acts this way, the rest of the followers must be so easily fooled that they'd easily switch to worshipping another god. The man grew more embarrassed and started sweating nervously, feeling like he was being punished while insisting he was just trying his best. But the point being made is that real faith is proven by what you do, not what you say, and the hare is clearly warning that from now on, only pure money should be given as an offering. He insists that spending so much money is the real proof they truly believe in this faith. The assassins blush with shame as their master gets yelled at for gifting just a plain statue, while the blonde boy threatens to spill every secret he knows from completing every quest in the game, hoping it means he can finally escape. After a long chat, the old man finally gives in and tells his followers to let the chubby prince go. A message pops up telling the boy he finished his first quest, and he feels so happy now that he's finally safe from the danger. As the old man steps forward, he confesses his shame for failing to recognize his god, while the boy lands the final blow by claiming the men have left him sore all over, calling it an outrage and telling them to shut up. The priest stays quiet, looking like he's already bought into the bluff and ready to do the dangerous job for real. The assassins start fighting over whether to attack or run away if Adam is really standing right in front of them. They also say he has ruined the prince's reputation, earning him the nickname Pig for his terrible image. But after a few seconds, they begin to realize that acting this way is just how a pig is made. The blonde boy looks nervous, sweating with fear as they slowly start to figure out his secret plan. As he gets closer, the leader talks to his god and says he is so honored to finally meet him face to face. While the man asks questions, the MC thinks that he only made it because his enemy is so disliked. He says that if the sacrifices at the altar had been better, the borrowed body would have been stronger and more majestic. And all of that is the followers' fault, because they keep saying that if they had given better gifts, everything would have turned out differently. As the group asks a heavy question about why the god has stopped visiting, the boy suddenly feels as if a sharp knife has pierced his heart. It also piques the priest's curiosity, making him wonder if his master has some urgent business to attend to in the world. The assassin didn't believe the hero's tale for a second, yet he still saw him as a useful tool for later. The boy shakes off his pretend role and insists he shouldn't have to list every reason or explain himself. He questions if they doubt him and says he'll have to take his pants off to prove it, and luckily, AOL acts just like that. Everything matches who he is, and his amazing performance makes his fans want to say sorry for doubting him. It's clear the man is just pretending to play along with the MC's tale to keep his subordinates calm, but that was actually the boy's own plan all along to get everyone relaxed so he could slip away. Something grabs the prince's eye and leaves him feeling uneasy about everything. One follower stays quiet in the back, silently watching everything unfold. People think the masked man is the game's main character, biding his time until the perfect moment to strike. This makes him uneasy, wondering who the man really is, because in this game the main character has no fixed past to explain it all. Maybe he isn't part of any of the three big groups in this world. The first one is the Baltic Magic Empire, where the Pig Prince lives. The second one is the Revolutionary Army that is always fighting the Empire. And lastly, we have the mysterious Council of the Five Beast Tribes. The game's story says the Empire and the rebels are always fighting, so when the Revolutionary Army sends the third prince to heaven, it's a clear message to the Emperor. After remembering the whole story, the MC realizes these people won't stop trying to send him to heaven because they need to deliver a message to the Emperor, so he starts scrambling for a way to survive. He has to figure something out quickly, because the Revolutionary Army will never leave the prince alive. Amidst all the tension, the MC realizes he played his best hand to save his life, but it clearly didn't work because the assassins still want him dead. With no hope left, the boy must think fast to save the Pig Prince, whose life was meant for heaven until the hero stepped in to change his fate. With his wit and quick thinking, he has already dodged several dangerous traps in just a few minutes. Finally, the boy realizes he's living like a hero in a game, and that makes him so happy. He never mentions waking up as the main character, even though this moment is the one he's waited his whole life for. But in the game, the trouble keeps going, and the old man, now getting restless, demands to know exactly what the chubby prince said. He claims it's nothing, just a brief glitch in his connection to this mortal form, but the air is so thick with tension that no one knows if he'll make it through. But the boy is ready to throw everything he has at fixing this mess, knowing that since he's already at the very bottom, there is no way for things to get any worse, so he decides to fully commit to his role and make it work. He shouts that from this day forward, the third prince, Porco, will be his main apostle. He commands that no one touch him, which shocks the assassins because it's such a strange move. He then makes an even crazier claim, saying that in the future, the chubby one will join the revolutionary army. When the words hung in the air, his disciples froze and traded worried glances, struggling to understand how this bold new move could go against everything their group had always believed. The game tells him that rising to the heavens right now will count as a defeat for his team. Outside the game, the young man is thrilled he outsmarted the problem and laughs at the mess he made. Even the most extreme fans are scared of the harsh punishment that will come if they get caught. Now that his pieces are safe on the board, the schemer can finally take a breath and rest easy for a while. Suddenly, the leader of the occultists burst out laughing, showing he had a plan and wasn't fooled by their silly game. Once more, the boy feels nervous and wonders why this is happening when he thought he was winning. The old man sneers at the suffering person, mocking them and asking if they even deserve to be trusted. He moved in with a threatening glare, insisting that the god of revenge never tells lies, which made the MC suddenly wonder if he had said the wrong thing. He says it's hard to think that the royal family's blood would one day fight alongside the revolution. Suddenly, their own god appeared out of nowhere and announced that the third heir prince would switch sides to join them. He whispers that the boy will be taken to the army's base in Oryx's city and the great cathedral, hoping the child will make a mistake along the way. The boy panics as he realizes he's about to be taken to the revolutionary army's headquarters, a dangerous enemy zone where his life is at risk. As the old man promises to tell the bishop about alms coming, the boy begins to panic because he knows the place is deadly and full of killers. Right in the middle of everything, he realizes that reaching the cathedral is a dangerous mistake because if the archbishop catches him, all his words will be proven to be lies. If that really happens, the assassins will turn on the MC again and try to actually kill him this time. The boy is terrified, dreading the thought of being tied up and having his life taken. Back in the present, the leader orders his henchmen to ready the boy's coffin, pretending the child is happily walking toward the afterlife. He tries to steer clear of the empire, but as he thinks about his next move, he realizes that even the god of vengeance's threats might not work anymore. He wonders what trouble awaits him if he actually makes it into the empire. Once they step into the empire, they'll find out everything is a lie, and the god of vengeance's followers will hunt him down for speaking the truth. That scary thought sends shivers down the chubby one's spine, who is terrified of flying up to the sky anytime soon. His mind wanders through every possible future, so a follower stops by to ask if he is alright. As his worry grows, he starts to hope that a rescue team might come. After all, he is the crown prince and still very important. The only snag is that someone inside the empire also wants Glone dead. In fact, it was this very man who stirred up the rebel army to kidnap the third prince and shoot him into the sky. He has no choice but to march into enemy land, for going back to the empire would only bring attacks from every direction. After a while, the old man tells his god that the carriage is ready to carry him into the land of the revolutionaries. Even if this is his best chance to stay alive, one tiny slip-up will reveal his secret. As he steps toward the carriage, a planet appears in his mind and he acts out his plan by feigning anger and refusing to enter the filthy vehicle. He keeps going with his act, telling his follower to spend more on the carriage next time while calling him a cheap priest. Watching the boy walk into the carriage with a calm face while swearing at everyone, the old man finally starts to believe he might actually be a god. Seeing how shocked the man looks, the MC asks him what's so surprising. He screams it out loud to everyone that the third prince will leave the empire and join the revolutionary army. Everyone was shocked to see the boy walk into the headquarters without fear, since he would normally be terrified if he weren't the god of vengeance. He happily repeats for the last time that they must take the prince back to the capital. He sits in the walled, grand city of Oryx and realizes that going back to the empire now would only mean losing for sure. Because he is so smart, he thinks his trip to the capital will be the perfect chance to grow and get better. Loving a challenge, he brushes off the tough place ahead as no big deal and simply focuses on solving it. Feeling pumped up, he thinks this is just a game phase, and since the hero is a pro, he's ready to cross into enemy land despite the trouble, so with the prince's protection fears rising, he finally commands the assassins to guard the chubby prince's body for the dangerous journey ahead. He ordered them to rush and get some rice and strong alcohol ready for the trip. The leader gets angry because he thinks throwing away those supplies is a huge mistake. The blonde one insists that using those supplies will help him share his divine messages with his followers. That's all it takes to have the young assassins bow and truly believe him. He predicts that within the next 2 weeks, something will happen in Oryx that will send many people soaring up to the heavens. Everyone, especially the young people, is shocked because they never thought such a big tragedy would happen in their capital. But he promises that by taking the prince's place, you can stop this terrible disaster. He insists the next move is to make a prophecy come true, which only tickles the old man's nerves. The boy's clever plan works perfectly because his men can't afford to kill the pig or leave him behind, so they must carry him all the way to headquarters. As he traveled, the prince stopped whenever he found the best and most delicious food to eat. As a true glutton, he raves about the delicious venison, devouring plate after plate with delight. He cheers on his exhausted friends, noting how skilled they are at grilling meat and how they could easily start a barbecue restaurant. He proposes that when they arrive in Oryx's capital, they open a new restaurant named Priest of Vengeance. The old man grew annoyed by all the chatter and told him to eat in silence since no one could stand the blonde woman babbling nonsense, so he insisted they stay for such a great meal rather than leave the hall, then pulled out a bottle with a snake inside. When he opens it, he says this is the famous drink that makes you dizzy after just one sip and burns your throat. He never stopped drinking during the whole trip, washing down every drop he had even though he knew it was hurting his body. His huge tolerance for alcohol makes his story about being a drinking-loving god of vengeance believable, which makes his followers feel impressed. Reflecting on his final moments, he jokes that his last words before the execution will be, "I want to drink the assassin's finest liquor," but once he's drunk and spouting nonsense, he only irritates everyone until the old man tells him to shut up again. The MC explains that the leader's grumpiness and easy-to-read annoyance come from his inability to handle liquor. He praises the day's menu, noting it hasn't been this delicious in a long time. He insists that the secret to the meal's delicious taste is the fresh venison he just hunted, cooked up with a kick of spicy seasoning. He says it feels like years since he tasted fresh lamb, and he's ready to stop staring at dry, boring food. They trudged through 3 long days and nights until their weary feet finally carried them to the capital. As the boy traveled, he felt like he was about to die because the old man followed him everywhere, acting very suspiciously. Everyone knows that in the game, Jillison only appears in scenes where he eats, spending his whole life surrounded by parties, drinks, and wild extravagance. But there's an even worse problem hiding on the hero's character sheet right now. His stats aren't impressive, but his endurance is particularly bad at -9. It is amazing that this guy is still going strong despite having so little energy left. In the game, a newborn baby has more stamina than the prince, who usually starts with only 12 points. The prince is growing too weak to make the journey and may die before he gets there. But the assassin leader says he can't spare the boy a healing potion right now since they're being chased and might need it for something important later. So the boy must trust his protectors to keep him safe and hope he doesn't get too sick, but the man says he'll only give him the healing potion if the boy can help them fight their enemies. He clicks on the menu and talks to Barmilo, telling him about his favorite question. When Barmilo hears this, his eyes go wide because he knows that a favor from a god is worth a lot to use later. The request is truly strange, as he asks the man to slap his rear for no reason anyone can figure out. The man is so stunned by what he hears that he drops the potion, losing touch with reality. Suddenly snapping out of his trance, he asks his master to repeat what he just said, unable to believe what he heard. But the boy stays firm in his demand, asking the man to strike his bottom again while holding it out for all to see. The old man stares in shock, asking what the prince is planning and wondering if he's lost his mind from the long trip. Everyone watching is left speechless, because none of them ever imagined seeing the king's private parts this way. Feeling annoyed that they aren't listening, he yells and demands to know if they truly plan to disobey a god's orders. Once he triggers the God of Vengeance mode, he talks the man into doing the deed, leading to the ridiculous scene that follows. As soon as the slaps land, a special power wakes up and begins to refill his energy. After getting a playful slap on his rear, the boy feels instantly refreshed and shouts to everyone that he feels great again. This happens because the slave's gift boosts their strength whenever they take pain that doesn't kill them. After asking, the priest realized he always knew Aelin was crazy, but never guessed just how strange his taste really was. When the boy points out a misunderstanding about the god's strange taste for pain-based powers, he reveals that this unique gladiator class is built entirely for those with peculiar preferences. After a while, the waiting time is over and you can use the power again to bring MC strength back. Then, obeying his master's command, the man strikes him again, catching him off guard. The boy gets annoyed and says he needs more time to brace for the damage, wondering why the priest is hitting him harder than before. After hitting the wrong spots, the man suddenly feels a cool, refreshing buzz running through his whole body. After that, everyone rushes to slap the master's backside in hopes of feeling refreshed, fighting over who goes next and annoying the blonde until she demands their attention for something important. The chaos grew so wild that one of the followers grabbed a stick to really get things done. Scared of their wild beliefs, the chubby one thinks hard and pleads with them to stop calling everyone crazy. We're back to the serious part of the story, and that silent guy is still a puzzle because it's weird he's just watching everything happen without saying or doing a thing. On this special day, the masked man stares with an even stranger look on his face. The silly fight goes on with ropes and vines dealing silly hits, but every time he gets struck, his power turns on to refill his energy and make him tougher. Once again, the heavy man stays quiet, watching everything with a dark, scary feeling around him. After taking many hits that felt like tough training, the character grew so tough that their endurance reached 37. Time passes until the boy can no longer feel his bottom, yet his friends keep hitting him anyway. Around the campfire, the leader turns to his master and jokes that his body still looks like a baby pig. The boy playfully retorts, realizing that staying by the fire with friends to talk and eat all night is actually pretty awesome. Even though those men started out trying to beat him and aren't on the same team, watching them fight is still fun. After a while, the priest steps forward to get the third prince's attention, having something important on his mind. Suddenly, his face turned pale with worry as he shouted that something huge was going wrong. His plan had completely collapsed because he never thought he'd keep the boy alive or turn his hair into an apostle alum. He mentioned that the original plan was to send the blonde guy to heaven in a truly gross way, but leave his body behind. But now, no matter how hard the Empire looks, they will never find a body in the forests. That's a big worry because the noble from the Empire who sent the prince to be captured must be furious and feels betrayed. Being clever, the boy wonders if a search party is getting close. Two mighty warriors from the kingdom are hot on the prince's trail, ready to strike with all their power. They're likely hunting down the blonde and may have already blocked the escape route, so the MC worries and asks if these warriors will let them reach the teleportation gate to Oryx without trouble. Tomorrow they should reach the gate, but their followers are worried they won't be strong enough to fight the warriors. If the search party reaches first, a fight will have to happen. Looking ahead, he asks the old man who really planned to take down the crown prince, since he doesn't believe it was the king himself. That question caught the man off guard, leaving him speechless because admitting a client would betray his mercenary code. Seeing the priest hesitate, the boy nudges him to speak up because he'll find out the truth sooner or later anyway. Then it turns out the man who gave the order for everything was the minister of the imperial palace, a leader so driven he never wavered from his goals. After hearing this, the pig says that if this man really is the minister who controls everything in the palace, then he must be the one behind all of it. At that exact moment, the minister is furious with the mercenaries he hired for failing their mission. There was a man named Viscount Zerk Morse, who held a very important place in the royal family. The Viscount joins the revolutionary army to chase his dreams and maybe grow his power. The portal to the capital hides deep in the forest, far out of reach for anyone who doesn't know the way. The blonde paused for a moment to think after hearing and confirming that the client was who she suspected. He wasn't shocked to find out it was a minister, because he had already thought that was possible. He says he knows palace tricks and that it makes the most sense if it really is Morse. Once, the Empire fought a terrible war to take the northeastern lands. During the fight, the minister's family had roots in the Khan tribe from the northeast. Since ancient times, this tribe and the Revolutionary Army have been close friends, so the man probably plans to join them to take back the land they lost in the war with the Empire. The leader was amazed when his master's idea sounded exactly like what was happening. The minister might be seeking revenge for his ancestors, so the MC jokes that he'll get embarrassed if they praise him too much because he could see the guy's face showing how amazed he was. But since the tribe has given up on the land they lost, it sounds like Viscount might be a secret spy. But the boy wasn't sure and couldn't confirm it. Even though the player knows every twist after Porco loses, the minister has already grabbed huge power and influence in the story. After finishing his contract and slowly hitting every target, the apostle was blown away by the boy's words, since he never expected the prince to pay such close attention to the world. He said that most of the gossip about him was just made-up nonsense. From now on, his influence will gently twist the tale away from its planned path, bringing forth fresh scenes that never existed in the game's original story. Soon, a chain of things that was never supposed to happen is about to start falling into place. After talking it all over, the paper suggests the Viscount has pretty much got everything ready for his plan to work. In the game, he was the type of player who always trusted his wits over raw strength. Being so smart, he probably already knows the path the revolutionary soldiers will take to get away. Back in the tale, the third prince was actually taken captive while hunting in the imperial grounds. After that, the group kept going until they finally reached the east. And if that's true, the army standing in their way is made up of tough people. Seeing this, the boy panics because he's sure it's over and they can't beat the squad coming to attack. Then he screams in terror, knowing a monster far stronger than any other game character is about to appear. The NPC is one of the 3 magical swords of the Empire, a legendary blade from the night market known as a lone Lloyd. Worried, they speed up to beat the search party to the gate, not realizing that rushing there will lead to their defeat. Trying to save everyone, he refuses the security team guarding the gate, knowing it would be terrible, as he is trapped between a fierce search party chasing him and one of the kingdom's most powerful figures standing ahead. But as an expert in this game, he's got to figure out a way to survive this crisis. So, he asks everyone to wait just one more day. The old man is shocked to realize he isn't going home today. Finally, the big man spoke up to say the boy's plan was to wait out the bear and the night before going. The chubby one is shocked that the mysterious man, who hasn't spoken a word in 3 days and now seems like the game's main character, has finally talked. After the massive man stays silent for the whole trip, he finally speaks his first words and leaves everyone completely shocked. Knowing what's happening, he turns to the prince and asks if they plan to just wait here for the rescue team to show up and take him away. He moves in scary close, shouting for an answer and asking if his idea is wrong. The MC feels tight with nerves, wondering what's going on with this guy. The boy stayed quiet, and that silence made the mysterious man feel like he was right. Finally showing his true self, he warns the boy that silence will mean his sword will force an answer. Trying to save himself, the blonde guy claims he just doesn't talk to strangers, so there's no need for violence since he didn't answer. That tiny annoyance pushes the man right to the edge, making him nearly start a fight and do something stupid. The pig challenges why he should talk to someone who hides their face, but the leader steps in to stop the fight before it gets too dangerous and someone gets hurt. With a naturally cheerful grin, the prince joked that they were only just starting on the most interesting part of the whole mess. The priest tries to calm everyone down, apologizes for the mess, and finally presents the masked man, telling them his name is Herbal. The name caught the boy off guard since he'd never met this man, even though he knew every single player in the game. He knew every faction's name, no matter how small, because he was completely obsessed with the game. Driven by curiosity, he asks about the Church of Vengeance and if Urgel is a priest, but since Urgel is just a companion and not a priest, the protagonist guesses he must be a mercenary instead. He steps forward again with a scary presence and asks what would happen if he became a mercenary, just like in the real game where you can pick a side, change your mind, and even turn on your old friends to join a new one. In short, folks get to roam the globe and change sides like a mercenary. That's exactly what the man is doing right now, moving from place to place, and the thought of it makes the boy even more worried because this mysterious figure seems to have special powers that regular people don't possess. So, he insists they've heard his name and demands the pig speak up to make sense of everything, even as the boy gets lost in thought, wondering if that mysterious stranger is another person who ended up in the same world. He bluntly asks again if the king's guards are hunting for the prince right now. If this man isn't just a simple background character, things are about to get messy since the blonde hero was originally meant to be the one gathering all the players' items. Feeling impatient and worried about a rival team closing in, he pushes the MC for answers and reveals that the bear has another name known across the kingdom. Carl Silem is a 6-star warrior who trails others like a hidden shadow. They joke that he's like a string of pearls draped around a pig's neck. After wrapping up his explanation, the masked figure says he respects the warrior greatly and wonders why such a talented person would be stuck in a prince's role, calling it a massive waste. As the MC starts whining about the criticism, a blade is suddenly pressed against his face to silence his strange reactions. The man warns the pig to stop trying cheap tricks since he won't be fooled, then holds up his sharp sword to show that if the boy is just waiting for a rescue team, he'll cut him down right now. The reason he sends the boy to the heavens is that he never lets anyone who annoys him live, and watching this scene unfold makes the hero realize this isn't an NPC but a player reacting exactly how one would expect. Feeling the pressure too much, the boy slips back into his role and asks the masked man if he calls all the shots. He shouts that the priest should be in charge, calling the man a mere mercenary to steal his authority, a bold and strange way of speaking that leaves his rival completely stunned because no one in this age talks like that. The blonde then turns to the priest and asks if he's wrong about him being the boss around here. Squeezed tight, the old man admits that the priest of vengeance holds the power to decide the third prince's fate. The chubby one gets excited, praises his priest, and says he never once doubted him. But to everyone's surprise, the elder admits he actually agrees with the mercenary side. He warns that staying puts them in danger as the guards close in, turning his team into bait for the prince, so he urges everyone to stay calm and admits they are definitely being followed. Two mighty figures, a warrior and a witch famous across the land, are drawing near. But he warns that the gatekeeper might be far more dangerous than the two on that team. He says that only a handful of people in the kingdom are skilled enough to be hired for such a vital mission as rescuing the king's son. The assassin's leader is shocked because this huge obstacle wasn't supposed to be there on the way to the capital. Mara alone Lloyd is so famous that even the assassins know his name, for he leads the special forces. The boy insists that Lloyd is simply too strong to ever be fought. This guy is truly one of the Empire's 3 greatest magical warriors and the strongest NPC in the whole game, not even kidding, because in the game his 9-star sword rank meant he had already reached the player level of 90. The old man frets over the whole mission and wonders why such a dangerous man showed up when he shouldn't. Then, with a sneer, he asked the masked man if he really thought he could win a fight against Marcus Lloyd all by himself. Left speechless and unsettled by his own doubts, the boy shocks everyone by asking what would happen if all the priests joined forces to fight. Terrified for his life, he tells them they're free to head for the gate themselves if they want to reach the heavens. As he listens, the boy's worry grows because he now knows the Empire's soldiers are already hunting him. His surprise grows as the crowd, expecting rejection, instead realizes they are wasting their lives by following this dangerous path. When the boy saw the whole scene, he became curious because his rivals suddenly looked scared. As the old man prepares for the long road ahead, he worries about the warriors blocking the gate, so the MC knows they can't just charge straight through and must think of a clever way to slip around the rivals. With a sneer, the boy wonders where everyone went, especially since they just changed their minds from doubting him to listening. The leader tries to ignore his master's mockery by coughing, but it only makes the boy angrier, so the boy starts coughing loudly while they make excuses, and the chubby one tells them it won't help, which surprises the old man because he never saw people cough like that in the game or real life. Finally, the blonde man starts to show his true colors, saying that if they are really sorry, they need to prove it with real sincerity. His honest promise to bring the special item shows just how sincere he is. But the boy says the man must promise first before he tells him what item he needs. He also demands they protect him at any price, swearing by the god of revenge to make it happen. He argues that since they can't trust the third prince, they might as well head to a better place themselves, especially since his followers will fight the Empire's sword, so he now demands everyone obey him to get safe passage straight to Oryx. To ensure everyone followed his lead, he began the oath circle and spoke first. The masked man glares in disgust at the hero's words, while his followers look equally baffled and frozen, unsure of what to do next. The old man tells the prince that things are going wrong but promises to follow his orders, adding that if everything falls apart, he expects the god himself to fix it. After that, the blonde gets so excited about winning over the leader that she says there's no point in talking anymore. Without hesitation, he starts off in the direction he needs, calling for everyone to follow. He stops in his tracks and shouts, "Is Carl here?" All eyes lock on the MC as he shouts to grab the warrior's attention. Then they finally realize what's happening, panic rising as they wonder if she is truly there and fear being sent away to a better place. He shouts again, demanding they hurry up and step out from the shadows. After a lot of shouting, the girl named Nightingale and the bear show up, but it's the wrong time and she wonders why, since she had been hiding and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It turned out they had been following us for 3 days, which is how the chubby one knew we were coming. The warrior wonders why His Highness didn't wait a little longer to ambush the kidnappers and win. But the boy refuses to go back to the Empire in Moxard and warns Lloyd not to speak harshly, as his words are frightening everyone around. In truth, the girl's name is Silen, not Lloyd, as the MC forgot that cheerful blonde girl is the daughter of Marcus Lloyd, the famous midnight warrior. Silence shouts out that even though everything is falling apart, she's thrilled the prince is safe. Right now, the girl protects the hair, but soon she'll leave the Empire to lead the heavy warriors. And with that, she finally gets the big title of Midnight Knight. The MC recalls this terrifying nightmare mission, a secret event that only unfolds in the original tale after he rises into the heavens. After learning the truth about her birth, Salem goes back to find Marcus to get the answers she needs. That is how she finally decides to change her last name to Lloyd instead of keeping the one she was born with. She takes the name of Marcus, the man with a cold face who is standing guard at the main gate. The man who now guards the gate is always sharp and ready for surprise attacks, as he is one of the kingdom's finest warriors. In a desperate bid to rewrite their fate, the chubby one tries to drop the girl's mysterious origin on her to shock her into action. But before he can even finish speaking, the girl screams at the kidnappers to set His Highness free right then. With a razor-sharp sword in her hand, she threatens everyone, warning that if their demands aren't met, she'll slice them all in half. Her friends are terrified because the boy showed up all on his own, even though no one ever asked him to come. Staring into the faces of his former captors, now friends, the blonde man can read their hidden thoughts just by seeing the way their expressions change. As the strong girl carries him away, he worries that if he keeps going, she'll drag him back to the palace where everyone will try to take him down again, which is the very last thing he wants. The boy screams at the leader because he's furious that his friends are doing nothing. Suddenly, something grabs Doloro's attention, and he whirls around, surprised and sharp-eyed. The assassins freeze in a knot of tension as they spot someone walking right up to them. In the middle of the forest, a red-headed figure clad in black appears with an aura of terrifying power. Irvin Sway, the Red Shadow, catches the old man's eye, and he warns that stories about her are already flying through the Revolutionary Army. Some whispers say she's a 200-year-old witch who keeps her youth by bathing in the blood of young girls. When he heard this, the hare realized that all his cleverness couldn't save him from getting caught in the middle of the trap. It was in the official lore book of the GFW world that he first heard about this character. He read about her for the first time and felt a surge of excitement, convinced that she was incredibly powerful. The internet buzzed with wild guesses and the official game site was swamped with news about this new character. But just as the girl was finally shown to everyone, something strange began to happen. In this moment, she turns into a stunning beauty, leaving the boy wondering if it's fair for the developers to trick players with fake backstory books. As the red-haired woman walks closer, the boy still doesn't get why the developers made someone so tough, until she explains that she spent 3 days and 3 nights hiking through the mountains on just dried meat, which makes the blonde boy laugh and joke that she must be an angel, not a witch, since she enjoys eating dried meat. Already so fed up and impatient, she shouted that from the very start she had been desperate to crush every single kidnapper. Amidst the growing danger, the prince wonders how the rescue team could possibly have survived for 3 days. The chubby one tries to calm everyone down by saying things are finally okay because they found what they were looking for. Just when Sammy thinks he's safe and sound after surviving, a hand suddenly smacks him right across the face. The witch is so mad at the blonde that she slaps him hard across the face. The slap triggers her masochistic power, and in a blind rage, she screams that the boy is a pig right before everyone. She stomps on his face, declaring that she endured endless struggles just to save him, only to find him uncooperative and eager to ruin their plan while his mixochism ability kicks in to restore his strength. She jokes about whether his head is just a decoration or meant to be stepped on, and this humiliating treat somehow makes him feel stronger again. Looking at the mess, he wonders how he ended up with such a terrible student like the pig, a sight that reminds the boy that in the original tale, Jolosin was meant to be Sueya's disciple. But since he was too lazy to practice, he never learned the magic tricks right and just didn't have any talent for them. Just as she readied her next strike, she joked that it would be neat if the pig could swallow magic just like it chows down on food. She doesn't care if the boy is from the royal family or not. She's about to roast him without a second thought, and the chubby one thinks she's got a real talent for insults, even if she's a witch. After taking a beating, he falls to the ground and calls out for Bar Milo. After realizing no priest could defeat the 9-star warrior guarding the Stargate, the leader ordered his men to sneak up on the 2 women and strike. He readies himself for the fight and admits the rules change when he faces 6-star warriors. The worried boy shouts, asking if they are truly ready to fight, even if it means going to the heavens. The old man pulls out his sharp sword and tells the girls that if they have a better plan, they should say it now. He warns that his friends are short-tempered and could jump into a fight at any second, so the blonde boy can only hope things calm down on their own since he isn't good at fighting. His only hope is his cleverness as he walks toward the girl with a plan. Then he tells her he's going to the capital, Oryx, with the followers, which leaves her shocked. She feels puzzled because she can't guess what His Highness is up to by heading to the capital. She grows scared for the boy since that dangerous land hides rebels planning to overthrow the Empire, but the MC insists he knows the risks and has chosen this dangerous path on his own, even if others don't understand yet. As the master of both adventurers, he commands them to turn back and let him be. They say the same words to the witch to stop her from chasing after the group. Suddenly, the boy stammers an apology, admitting he has been a terrible disciple this whole time. He gets down on one knee in front of the girl and promises that he will never throw away her magic lessons. He adds that he hopes the redhead's lessons will one day glow with 5 different colors of light. He shouts with a vow that he will one day win through his love for magic. Even though the witch's lesson never appeared in the game, the prince still learned something. But her kind nature meant she would never treat Golosin like a burden, even if he was useless. He says he doesn't know when he'll master magic, but it's sure to happen. He admits she can't trust his words right now, but he pleads with her to trust her disciples just one more time. The sorceress stands speechless, never having seen her student speak with such fierce determination before. Once more, his hair begs her to give him one last chance to prove himself. After a few silent seconds, the girl wondered if Josen had always possessed those magical eyes. She guessed that losing weight was the cause, but the real truth was that the boy's entire personality had changed. Suddenly, he started calling her Master, a title he had never used before since he was too terrified of her powers to speak her name, even though he used to be a selfish boy who only cared about food and ignored studying. His magic skills are so bad that the whole country laughs at him, and his laziness just made it worse because he'd fall asleep during lessons and never learn anything. In fact, even the lazy fatty knows his magic is far weaker than anyone else's, which is strange since he suddenly calls the girl his master, so she asks if her student truly wanted her teachings to reach the 5 colors of light with her blessing. May the great magic reach the light of 5 colors and reflect back into your being, which he now knows and considers the highest compliment in the Tower of Mages. She stood frozen in disbelief, wondering if the boy had been faking his stupidity this entire time. As the protagonist watches the whole scene, sadness fills his heart because Turvin isn't looking at his true body, but at the prince instead. In truth, the girl isn't looking at Glossin at all, but at something far stranger. She's hoping to find the true spirit of Golosin, but nobody knows where it is right now. She says that for the last 5 years, she has been the one teaching the boy. It's sad the boy can't cast spells right, but perhaps taking his time will help him learn enough to succeed. She boosts her student's spirit by telling him that even without talent, his possibilities are endless, and since she is just the master, she leaves it all up to him to decide what to do. But the warrior isn't happy, so he storms up to the group with a very angry face. She is so upset that she can't believe the prince is saying those words. She yanks the protagonist by his collar with all her might to remind him she's there, then suddenly starts crying because she thought her hair would one day cause something, leaving the boy totally confused since he was expecting a punch instead, and she tearfully promises to follow the prince as a warrior wherever he goes. Tears streaming down her face, she promises to walk the same path as His Highness, no matter where fate takes them. She vows that anyone who stands in their way will have to face Karl's sharp sword. Finally, the boy understands that both girls held high hopes for the third prince because of their strong personalities, and they were likely worried about seeing him shine in the future, yet unfortunately, Kim is just a player using this person's body and not the real prince, but even though his hair isn't truly his heart warms at the touching sight, making it feel as if Glozin's heart still lives inside. The warrior keeps wailing with snot running from her nose, so the protagonist starts laughing and teasing her to stop. He claims she promised to obey him, yet now she's crying and breaking her own word. He won't stop making fun of the blonde girl by repeating the words she just said seconds ago. As the witch sees all the chaos, she decides to join the MC's group of followers. A message pops up confirming they've both joined the team and are standing ready to take orders. The hero notices the leader looks troubled, so he asks if both of them can officially join. Since they were originally the prince's guardians, the old man has no choice but to accept it. With his squad finally ready, the boy leaps with joy, yet his friends don't seem to feel that same spark. The blonde still doesn't trust them, since just 3 days ago, His Highness was taken prisoner by the very same group. The followers of the God of Vengeance feel uneasy around the 2 girls. The kidnappers' full plan to steal the throne's heir is laid out, using smoke bombs and drug drinks hidden in the horse's water. The MC tries to calm his friend, saying he gets why she's mad, but now that it's done, there's a strange sense of relief. He insists that despite everything that happened, no one lost their life. But if that had happened, nothing would have gone as smoothly as it did these last few days. Thinking about it, the fat boy sees that if he hadn't been alive, he never would have joined the Revolutionary Army, and the story would have stayed exactly the same. The warrior shifts the topic and tells the boy he has lost a lot of weight in just a short while. She wonders if her cheeks have gotten thinner over the last few days. Actually, he only lost weight because he had to climb mountains without stopping while carrying his teenage son. He jokes that his soul left with all the pain he suffered, but then the boy suddenly wonders what the girl will do if things get rough and hair starts growing in the wrong places. He calls the Empire a fool for losing such a precious girl and then adds some dirty remarks. It feels like talking to an old friend, which is a strange dream for the MC who only ever knew this character as a screen image. That's because Carl leads the raids in the game. In the original game, you can boost certain NPCs' affection until they join your party, and the blonde character is a perfect example of this. Having a strong teammate like her made most battles much easier because she always had a solid attack plan. With both girls and the assassins in his party, most of the players' problems vanished and became much easier to handle. He recalls how he once made her his party member and led her through every hard fight until he finally grew tired of it. As he remembers the pain he caused the girl during their game and feels terrible about it, she surprises him by proving she is truly the legendary warrior everyone says she is. Yet, compared to the blonde, his red-haired friend is a much harder mystery to crack. She's hard to use in battle because her plans are too complicated. Something stops the boy in his tracks as he realizes meeting the sorceress was a good thing. The girl saw the boy frozen in place staring at her, so she asked what was wrong with him. The blonde feels something odd and his chest aches, leaving him wondering what's going on. The girl gets annoyed when she catches someone staring, yet the MC feels his heart beginning to bloom with feelings. Speaking out loud, he wonders what's wrong with him since there's no way he could love that child who calls the woman a witch. Then he worries that if she hears that, she'll get angry. But luckily, it's just a dream, and he thinks that at 19, she's no longer a little kid. Everyone whispers that she is over 200 years old, and that all the witches share the same name, passing their memories down from one to the next so the tradition can live on. Over all those years, it's clear they all look the same, share the same name, and carry the very same fears and rumors about them. Maybe the reason is that the game doesn't treat this character very nicely. The warrior snaps the MC out of his daydream with a surprise compliment, telling him he looks skinny but full of energy. She then tells them it feels like they're stepping back into the past, which shocks the team leader. She begins to explain that it feels just like the days they spent at the juvenile palace. That was the children's palace, an exclusive school where the Empire's finest noble families sent their kids. His charm and wit were so strong that every maid fell in love with the handsome young man. The boy became so famous that nobles' kids rushed to meet him. But then the player suddenly realizes the story has changed from the original game, and even the armored girl sighs that it's a shame the Empire worships magic so blindly. In this world, a person is only worth something if they can control magic, which was a terrible problem for the young prince since he couldn't channel mana through his body. This made her heart heavy because her friend's future was ruined since he wasn't a good mage. But he doesn't let her sadness shake him, so he pats her back to try to cheer her up. It turns out this is Glowzen's past, showing the Emperor's most prized hair and the truth that he never had any magic talent at all. In this empire where only the magically gifted are valued, having no command over your own energy was a guarantee of failure. Because of that, the young boy twisted in his heart, turning dark as the nobles treated him with coldness and cruelty. His life is just like an old saying, the higher a bird soars, the harder the ground hits when it crashes down. Right now, the boy just needs to get to the capital city without getting hurt, so he tells his friend not to waste time dwelling on the past. He argues that we should live in the present because the kind of child he was no longer matters. In the end, no one in the kingdom remembers who the third prince was from his school days except for his friend, and surprisingly, the boy finds it a wonderful thing that people don't know him very well. The heir is now known as a rebel who just wants to eat, drink, and party non-stop. He can't stand living with that reputation and tells his friend to remember that he'll come back strong enough to survive. He decides to leave his past behind and forget about needing magic talent, because even with a terrible destiny card, he believes that hard work can still give him a chance to become an archmage. Thrilled with the change, he tells everyone to stand tall and get ready for a whole new beginning. Hearing this fills the girl with confidence, and she starts to truly believe in and trust His Highness. As the group tires on the road to the capital, only the two blondes stay excited while the prince tells his friend why they must stop in Oryx to figure out his true goals. He warns that traitors are hiding inside the Empire, and there are just two people who could be behind it. The warrior is shocked because he never thought anyone else could exist besides Viscount Morse. As the days go by, more and more people turn against the Empire to serve their own interests, with Morris being just the first to show this dangerous trend. But the boy says not to worry at all, because his time in the game has taught him every single name. He asks if she knows Mara Elon Lloyd, the guard watching over the northeastern edge of the city. It turns out he is not only the warrior's father's best friend but also one of the Empire's top 3 judges. Something clicks in the girl's mind, making her realize the warrior might be a traitor, but she goes crazy with the thought and starts praising the Marquis, unable to believe an honorable man would betray the Empire, while the knight jumps to the wrong conclusion and Gillison never actually said the man was a traitor, only that he was told the Marquis is blocking passage to the capital. The captain's orders are to catch the prince and take him back to the palace, which are the very same orders the blonde girl received. The worried boy asks what they should do next and if they might try to work with the warrior. Knowing the magistrate, you quickly realize that plan won't work. The prince could try to rebel, but that would lead to total destruction for everyone, so the priests are too scared to take that dangerous path and instead want to find a safer way. The boy, upset that the girl scared his followers, tells them to stop talking. Then a plan sparks in his mind, so he asks his follower if she brought 2 swords for the mission, and despite being not the fastest fighter, he reaches out with his clumsy hand to ask for his friend's blade. For a warrior, a sword is like a lover, and it is nearly impossible to give it to someone else. But the boy doesn't hesitate long to hand over the plain, well-kept sword to the prince, who seems to have a secret plan the moment he grips it. Holding the blade, the boy rushes toward his next step to reach the capital, but his friend's praise for the sword makes him panic, fearing they plan to use it against the Marquis. The blonde then asks, as if the answer is obvious, if the warriors have special methods taught to them by the order. Of course, warriors have their tricks, and so do gamblers who know their own ways to beat an enemy. As everyone keeps moving forward without stopping, the hero realizes his real adventure is only just starting. The gate to the capital stands heavily guarded by imperial warriors, who wait with patience for their targets to arrive. A great magistrate, a 9-star warrior and master swordsman, stands there waiting patiently but complains that his objectives are taking too long. Impatient, he questions his soldier about the delay, yet the search has been thorough and the assassin team is so skilled at causing chaos that tracking them beyond the Empire is incredibly hard. The knight grows more annoyed by the moment, unable to bear the boredom of this empty place, so he shouts that the prince only feels happy when the kingdom is filled with daily trouble. Very sadly, he worries about his beloved daughter who is currently with the barber. Poor knight had a hard start in life because he was born a bastard to Lloyd from a secret relationship with a maid. The boy was forced to work as a servant by imperial law, so he used his power to clear the boy's name and trusted the count's family to raise him well. Frustrated, he clutches his sword tightly, confused as to why the prince treats her like a warrior. And it would be amazing if that overweight third prince finally acted like a normal person instead of treating everyone like his servant, since he used to follow him everywhere, even feeding him while he gambled away fortunes, and watched him bring women to bed just to party and drink. Filled with anger over the cruel things his son has had to suffer, he believes it's kinder to let him move on to the afterlife than to save him. But this path would backfire badly, ruining his son's reputation and career for failing to protect his own lord. As he thinks that dying might be better than rotting by the pigs, the warrior asks what would happen if the magistrate were taken hostage. He is so talented that he claims he could knock out every enemy before they even get to hit him. The thought that his daughter would be free if the prince lost brought him relief, and a faint smile touched his lips. His soldiers signal that the targets have arrived, and while the emperor ordered them taken alive, he ignores the command, charges forward, tells his men to follow, and declares he will defeat them all. The prince's men panic and scream for the warriors to block the path, leaving the blonde prince confused because his enemies aren't even getting ready for a fight, which is very strange. While hiding in the trees, the 2 girls signal the warriors to back away and clear the path so nobody gets hurt. The prince walks calmly and asks if the warriors have gone mad, since they can't even recognize his own face. When the cloaked figures drew near, the mag was baffled, unsure if they were real people or something strange. She pulls her hood down low so no one can see her face, then tells the prince that the man standing right in front of him is the famous Captain Lloyd. But the man is so impatient that he shouts angrily at the hooded figures. As peace falls, the girl steps forward to talk to the knight, catching him off guard since he didn't expect her there. She introduces herself as Count Silen's oldest daughter, which breaks the knight's heart since he knows she is lying. The redhead introduces herself, says she's from the Research Institute, and mentions it's been a long time since she last saw Lloyd. But the warrior remembers everything and knows she is the magic teacher from the third prince. She calls him the third beggar just as he slowly and calmly takes off his hood. As the knight peers closely at the prince's face, he sees that the young man now has a cold and calm look in his eyes. He is left scratching his head, trying to remember if he has ever seen a third hair look quite like this before. Marcus beams with a smile as he greets the third prince, happily saying it's great to see him again. He also says he's glad his highness is safe, thanks to the great imperial guardian dragon. But deep down, he's really angry at the boy for not getting any help from the imperial guardian. The man also notices the prince's voice has changed completely in just a short time, sounding totally different now. It looks like he's changed into someone else, and he starts to worry that something dangerous might have caused it. When the blonde suggests sending his knights to guide the prince back to the imperial palace, the boy says he has his own plan for where to go. He speaks with a shy smile, worried about the man's reaction, and admits he doesn't want to go back to the imperial castle. All the knights stood stunned, having waited through those long days just to complete that single mission. So, he tells the knight to let the guards at the gate go, since they aren't needed anymore. He speaks up without a shred of fear and declares he's heading to the capital. The magistrate shakes his head, convinced the prince has gone crazy, and asks if he even knows what he's saying. Inside his head, he's seething with anger, unable to understand why an emperor's prince would dare venture into the enemy's stronghold. Watching the hero reach into his clothes, he wonders what dangerous trick the man is about to pull if he doesn't move away. The boy's plan is finally moving, and he yells that he'll chop down the warrior if he doesn't move, delivering both an order and a warning from the great prince. Hearing that line shocks the man, even though he knows the pig isn't dangerous, because it's so bold. And honestly, that was the moment he had been hoping for, a chance to fight and break his daughter free from the hare's hold. After thinking about it for ages, he finally drew his swords to get rid of the man he hated. Suddenly, a sharp pain shoots through his shoulder, stealing his focus from the fight for just a few seconds. Right then, the boy asks if Marcus is hurt, but Marcus just says he's fine and still wants to fight. The truth is, his anger was so intense it nearly pulled his shoulder out of place. He starts to wonder if all this is just a big joke, but as the ridiculousness grows, he realizes he has no time to deal with the prince's madness and fears that the knight might actually have lost his mind. He stood tall with a fierce look, declaring himself a sword master, a title shared by only 3 people in the world. The boy knew the man was stubborn and wouldn't move, so he let everything happen exactly as he planned, then laughed at him and asked how His Highness thought he'd hurt him, saying he was eager to see the man's fighting tricks. In this game, there's a spot for everyone, and no matter how impossible things seem, a secret solution is always there, yet the man is so sure of his own power that he honestly claims he could beat the air using nothing but a tiny weak tree branch. He laughs with no fear, joking that Lloyd could beat him even with just a tiny twig, which makes everyone around him burst out laughing. But he suddenly cuts in to ask if that's really what's going to happen. Knowing the rules, he points out that the man hasn't used his right arm for a long time. He laughed and asked if the man's shoulder hurt, then challenged him to see if he could really win when things were so unfair. Proud of his skills, the man declares he'll stay alone no matter what, even with his broken arm. This knight stands as a towering figure of unshakable confidence, having mastered the art of the sword to its very limit. Creeping closer, he whispers in his rival's ear that he knows exactly what victory will cost him. The blonde girl is left speechless and tries to calm things down by claiming His Highness is just talking nonsense. Then the prince asks how much longer the soldier will worry about his grown son and if he doesn't think that is a bit shameful. When the boy speaks and truly angers him, the soldier wastes no time drawing his sword, ready for a fight he expects to be easy. Calling the boy a brainless brat with a loose tongue, he finally drew his blade, ready to defeat him. He says dads need to know when to respect their son's choices and let him live his own life. Furious, he grumbled that if the prince's goal was to make him angry, then the plan succeeded, because now he was so mad he'd send the prince to the afterlife. Holding his sword, the prince sneers and declares that since the man has been insulted and pulled out his blade, now is the perfect moment for a duel. He then shouts out to Gilison, the 3rd prince of the Belgic Empire, daring him to an official duel he is forced by the kingdom's laws to accept. The prince nods right away, knowing exactly what he must do next. He tells his soldiers that from now on, no one is to stop this official duel. Confident enough to joke that a 9-star swordsman could beat him, but reality is about to show that things are rarely what they seem. Truth be told, everything is moving exactly as planned, and the man is walking right into a trap where he's destined to lose. Suddenly, a pop-up warns of an unexpected noble duel, and the blonde hero accepts the challenge, declaring he's ready to fight on. Even though his opponent is the greatest swordsman around, the MC refuses to let himself be seen as just a forgotten prince. He knows his skills are top-notch because, as a prince with the heart of a pro gamer, his mission is clear: defeat his rival, Alone Lloyd, and claim the victory. A few days before he reached the gate to Oryx, the boy was screaming that he would defeat Marcos Lloyd. The warrior cried hard while the redhead stared out with tired eyes, trying to hold it together as everything fell apart around them. They worried he was falling ill and losing his mind, so they brought him food, offered care, and even told him to rest. Frustrated, the witch begged to go home and tell her master he was losing his mind. As the followers of the vengeance god cooked, they worried this could be their final meal before the deadly battle ahead. But the boy had a plan, so he shouted loudly for everyone to hear before they could act on impulse, insisting he knew exactly what he was doing. The captain's daughter, worried, said their usual tricks wouldn't work because the man was too skilled and clever for the field. Sadly, he knew the pig only knew how to eat, gamble, and place bets. His condition was so bad he couldn't even beat 9 beginner players in the world of GFW. He knew in his own heart that promising to beat a level 9 warrior was just crazy talk. He would have laughed hard if roles were reversed, so he patiently listened to the redhead's wild plan to decide whether to walk away or follow him to the very end. The boy felt his heart race because his teacher was the only one who still saw what he could do. Now feeling brave, he spoke up, and after saying thanks, the little witch shared all her plans. She didn't explain much, just that she'd bet on herself to beat the Empire's strongest fighter and win. Both were left stunned and couldn't believe the plan could work, but the boy, not noticing their shock, just called it simple. Furious, the sorceress slapped her disciple and declared that fighting Lloyd was completely ridiculous. He joked that any dog wandering by would laugh at his words, and even while getting hit, he insisted that the challenge team had the right to set the rules for their noble duel. That fact, being written in imperial law, finally calmed both girls down. The clever boy declared he would make the fight rules work in his favor to guarantee his win. It was made clear that GFW isn't just about raw power. With the right gear, you can win any challenge no matter the level, a trick the protagonist had used countless times back when he was a pro player. He won over many foes not just with strength, but also with smart traps and clever tricks, even after losing once to a harmless water slime. Back then, he smashed his screen in anger because losing to such a weak enemy felt like a huge embarrassment. If he set the rules and the warrior agreed to watch the duel, he would win, so they asked what kind of rules he planned to make. After all, the captain would never agree to a duel that made him look like a fool. The warrior himself insisted he would not fight a duel with unfair rules, for his honor as a knight was at stake. The skilled gambler smiled and said he'd set 3 rules for the game. First, no magic was allowed, so the fight was just swords clashing against swords. Next, if either sword touched the ground, the other would win instantly, and most of all, they had to fight without armor, leaving the 2 girls completely shocked by these rules. But right after, they started doubting the boy's plan, saying those rules wouldn't help him at all. The impatient and annoyed sorceress quickly grew a vine and commanded her student to turn around for a proper punishment. She didn't realize that the punishment actually helped him by restoring his strength and focus. The warrior said that banning magic might hold the captain back, but he quickly stopped talking, realizing the man's skill was far greater than that. With the boy bound head to toe, the redhead sneered at him, mocking his idea that he could ever knock the captain's sword from his hand. The knight refused the final rule of fighting without armor, claiming it would endanger your highness's safety. But the pig was so confident that he even told everyone not to worry, claiming the magistrate wouldn't send him to the afterlife. If he did that, his good name would be destroyed forever, and in a blind rage, he'd likely make a terrible mistake just to hurt back. Even though everything was said, the prince's friend stayed worried about his safety. Crying, he claimed swords lack eyes and their outcomes are unpredictable, but the boy agreed while choosing to see things from a different angle. He asked everyone to imagine they were master swordsmen ready to face the scene. Suddenly, a greenhorn shows up to challenge us to a fight, and I wonder just how we'd react to that bold offer. The knight chuckled, thinking it was just a funny joke without knowing the story was already pulling the boy in, so he asked if the knight would beat the new challenger or show off his amazing skills. But the knight answered right away, promising he'd never do it because he had to keep his honor. After all, real swordsmen are taught never to humiliate their foes, for they are warriors, not hitmen. The redhead stepped forward and warned that an accident could still happen, but the MC calmly told her that against a rank 9 opponent, it absolutely would not. Even though he wasn't very skilled, he fought hard so he wouldn't get hurt by accident and keep everyone, especially Carl, from worrying. That's why he knew the Marcos couldn't hurt him, since a true swordsman never fights with full intent because he fears disappointing the one he loves. The boy insisted that his bear fight would be simpler and safer if he stayed sharp, and once his friends heard his plan, they finally stopped worrying. They finally saw the whole picture and knew the fight ahead was going to be thrilling. The boy laughed, looking totally at ease, and told Lloyd that no armor would ever be needed to stop him, no matter how much Lloyd wanted to win. The plan was to leave the opponent broken apart, a shocking idea that left his friend staring at him in silence. He quickly asked why someone would want to do such a cruel thing to the Empire's warrior. The boy thought about it and told himself that the man was just a nasty roadblock standing in his way. By speaking the words aloud, he admits there's something special between them, but he still can't say exactly what he wants, not quite yet. His friend watched with curiosity, not quite getting what he meant. The witch steps in with a curious smile, asking if there's a secret between them, but the boy just laughs and says it's time to eat. Everyone huddles tight around the crackling fire as the MC warns them to listen close to his words. He knows every character in this game and says the knight looks strong and perfect, but actually has one major weakness. Everyone laughed at the comment, treating the captain like he had a weakness that everyone would know about, especially since mixing magic with sword fighting just doesn't work that well. As they watched the servant, they muttered that mixing magic with swordplay was still a skill they had barely started to learn. Compared to other masters who master this power perfectly in their minds, unlike this man, the protagonist interrupts to say he isn't talking about signs of greatness, leaving everyone confused and wondering what the boy actually means. The knight's right shoulder is badly injured and paralyzed, giving him a huge advantage in the duel. This leaves the